welcome.
Thank you.
Coming.
Thanks for inviting me back. That's probably good news.
Oh, I think it was beg you back. You are always a fascinating guy because you say stuff that no one else will say. So I want to set the bar right there.
Hopefully, I'll do that again.
So first of all,
Hi, everyone.
Hi, Vinod. You said that you actually would like to get some audience interaction, and so one of the things we're going to do is if you tweet a question to me, just tweet it to @Arrington, and when you're on a monologue or two, I'll go in here and see if we can ask you a few of those as well at the end.
Great.
So you hired Keith Raboy earlier this year. Do you regret that? Good hire or bad hire? Because he's crazy, right?
You know, we like crazy.
But is he good crazy?
He's willing to try lots of new things, and that's a hallmark of Khosla Ventures. We'll try different stuff.
Yeah.
My favorite is George Bernard Shaw, who said, all human progress depends on the unreasonable man. He should have said man or woman, but he didn't. Yeah. He needs a lesson in political correctness, but doing things at the edge is what interesting venture is about. Trying things that nobody will try, doing things that seem like likely to fail, not being afraid of failure. That's very much the philosophy around Khosla Ventures. So Keith's a great hire. We've also hired Ben Ling. Yeah. We feel really excited about the team as it's shaping up.
So you think Keith will stick around for a while?
Keith will stick around for a long time, I hope. You know, the second part beyond trying crazy things is you sort of have a lower probability of success when you try crazy things. You need people who can help entrepreneurs increase the probability of success.
Yeah.
So getting people on your team who can actually not only just invest, which a lot of people do, but who can actually help the entrepreneur increase his probability of success, increase the size of the outcome, is really, really important for entrepreneurs like this.
And Keith and Ben are that. They're both awesome.
Look,
I was
Keith's
joking.
gone through LinkedIn and PayPal and sort of a not great startup at Slide, and then great outcome at Square. He knows what it is to cause things to grow. He knows why things succeed or fail. And that's really valuable advice for entrepreneurs. Yeah. So lots of VCs will talk about value add. Very few people have done enough themselves. Yeah. I ask all our junior guys who always want to come to me and say, I want to go on the board. And I say, what have you done to earn the right to advise an entrepreneur? Yeah. And usually, it's nothing. Yeah. And that's why I don't even go to board meetings anymore very much, because everybody's there from other venture firms talking as if they've earned the right to advise entrepreneurs when they haven't done shit.
Who's the worst?
Now, there are exceptions.
Yeah.
I suspect you guys sympathize with this. You're the brunt of the advice you get, and you're supposed to listen because, quote unquote, they're board members. Yeah. I just sort of say, listen politely and then do what you want. To entrepreneurs?
Yeah, but you have to listen to them. I've been in those situations where you're at a board meeting with the VC that you've taken money from, and they start talking, and I don't even know if they're listening to themselves. And you can't say that's the stupidest thing I've heard all day. You have to say, we didn't think of that, and we'll get back to you on that, and then hope they never bring it up again.
Yeah, no, I like your style. Look, this is a really hard thing for entrepreneurs, and there's a lot here, so I can speak to it. Knowing whose advice to take and on what topic may be the single most difficult decision an entrepreneur has to make. Yeah. Like, everybody will advise you. Yeah. They've never been in a startup. They've never been in tough time. I don't know a startup that doesn't go through tough times. Most of the time, I give advice to entrepreneurs. I give them advice, and I tell them what I'm uncertain about. I'm never confident I'm right. I'm confident that I've screwed up more often than most people in this room. I probably am the world's expert in screwing up because I've tried more things. And I probably have a bigger repertoire of mistakes than anybody here, or at least most people here. And hopefully I can use that to advise entrepreneurs to avoid those mistakes. But we're making new mistakes all the time. And so you can never be sure if you're trying something new and different and unreasonable.
Yeah.
If you're doing what everybody else is doing, then you're not doing anything interesting anyway, so we don't want to invest.
When you're at a board meeting, who would you say is the VC that is the most full of shit that you've ever met? Come on, you always say brutal honesty.
I would be offending too many people. But let me be more clear. Maybe some percentage substantially larger than 95% of VCs add zero value. And I would guess 70 to 80% of VCs add negative value to a startup in advising you. So,
wow.
No, look, this is what I believe. This is what my experience shows, and this is why I don't show up at board meetings normally. I'd rather take the same time and spend 2 or 3 hours with the entrepreneur one-on-one and tell them what they should worry about, what my advice is, what I'm certain about, what I'm uncertain about, but think.
But you don't want to deal with
what's a possibility, what's a probability, what's a near certainty. There's no certainty ever.
But you don't want to deal with the crap at the board meetings where there's other people talking.
Yeah, it's pretty rare for me to go to a board meeting.
All right, moving on.
By the way, it saves me a lot of time that I don't have to listen to other VCs, and I can spend the same time mentoring an entrepreneur. Look, what I love about our business is mentoring, coaching, and brainstorming with entrepreneurs. I love nothing more than spending 3 hours brainstorming with an entrepreneur, all the possibilities, and then helping narrow it down and say, let's go after this.
That's what I like about it, too.
Yeah.
Are you still into food tech? You talk about food tech a lot with me. Can I just say that as an intro to this, you are. I mean, I love your thoughts, but I was reading an article today about there's a new company. It's backed by Peter Thiel and Bill Gates. It's a fake egg, and I think it's actually on sale at Whole Foods or Whole Paycheck. And it's supposed to be just like an egg, but it's made from plants. And my question is, why not, instead of doing that, why don't you just feed the plants to the chickens who lay eggs, right?
Okay, good question. So I think the company you're referring to is the company we seed funded, Hampton Foods.
What is it?
And they're making egg-free mayonnaise, which you can buy at Whole Foods now.
What are they called?
Hampton Foods.
Hampton Foods, okay.
Josh Tetrick is an awesome entrepreneur there.
Yeah, but I can also make eggs with vegetables.
Right. So here's the question. Josh's eggs don't have salmonella risk. Your eggs that you buy do. One little reason, I suspect Josh's eggs are very efficient. Let me give you an example.
Oh, come on. You think it takes less energy to create his egg than a real egg?
Yeah, and cheaper because it's less energy. But
no way.
Let me give you an example. To make a kilogram of beef, I'll use kilograms, but you can do pounds, takes about 15 kilograms of corn and 3,000 liters of water. So when you eat that steak tonight, think about that. Now, that's single-digit efficiency, way below 10% in converting plant protein, which is corn and soybean, which we feed to cattle, into animal protein. When something's that inefficient, and it takes up a third of the planet's area, a third of the planet's area is animal husbandry, and you make it 5 times more efficient, you've saved a lot and provided a cheaper product.
It's disgusting, right? I mean, that's the problem, is no one's going to eat that crap. I'd rather eat the soybeans.
It's great for you to have an opinion without ever having tasted it.
But,
right? I love this about writers. They have opinions on everything.
So that's where we're going with this. All right.
It's the truth.
So I have some other questions I wasn't going to ask, but...
Go ahead.
How many decades are we away from this being like a real business and real food being created that people like and buy because they want to? Is it 10 years? Is it 50 years, or what?
I suspect if you invite me back again after I talk more about journalists, and you're not really a journalist, But if I get invited back,
Hey, thanks for coming.
no, that was meant as a compliment. I think of journalists as people who just write, English majors who just write. They can't do real work. This is popular in engineering circles, not as popular. But a year from now, hopefully I can bring you a burger, you can taste it, and tell me...
That would be fun.
Tell me which one of the two burgers is real and which one is plant protein. Okay? So we'll do a challenge.
Sorry, I'm reading this because you asked me to. I'm reading. Okay. The questions are not good.
So just to give you an example very specifically, we have a similar cheese. And I presented 3 or 4 cheeses to Bill Gates. I said, figure out which one is not from dairy, and he got it wrong. You can buy this cheese at Whole Foods, Lyrical Foods. So making agriculture, that's a very old business without a lot of innovation.
I bet I could tell.
Huh?
I bet I could tell which one wasn't the real cheese.
I'll bet you can't.
Somebody wants me to hug you. On behalf of all entrepreneurs everywhere, this is what you start asking for this stuff and you get what you ask for. So, and somebody wants me to ask you about the hospitality. I'm going to put this down for a minute. Something about Las Vegas. We're going to go back to that in a minute. So the food thing, so we agree that I'm probably more right than you on that then?
No, I'm much more right than you are, and we'll do a bet here. You pick the amount. We'll do it next year this time.
Okay. It's probably not going to be an amount that you consider interesting, but...
That's okay. Some charity will consider it interesting.
What, besides the food, what are the big problems you're trying to solve right now?
You know, so let me take an extension of food. One of the things I'm really excited about is a company called Blue River Technologies. And they operate here, and I think I briefly talked about this publicly before. They thin lettuce, they can weed lettuce, they can eventually even harvest lettuce. Now, why is this interesting? If you can weed corn, you can get rid of many of the problems of GMOs. You could get rid of pests or herbicides.
Yeah.
Right? You could clean up agriculture and do it at lower cost.
Right.
In fact, it's very likely you can do yield increases because the machine can do plant spacing much more accurately, especially in lettuce. So we're pretty sure we can increase yield, reduce cost.
And what does it do? It weeds?
So they plant lettuce, and then they go back and thin them out. Pick out the plants that aren't evenly spaced or not healthy. We can image a plant, know which one's healthy, do much better than your average farm labor, and really reduce the cost, improve the yield, reduce the need for herbicides. So lots of good things. Now, there's a sad part to it. The sad part is you replace farm labor. A lot of this, so you asked me what areas. Robotics, machine vision, machine learning, really, really interesting area. Not an area generally amenable to dropping out of Stanford in your first year. It needs a few PhDs to do these things. That's a good area. We have another one that's actually, it's a fun one. Maybe we can cook our burgers in this machine next year, but actually can make burgers. And lots of advantages. You can get it exactly customized and make it cheaper than McDonald's. Hopefully.
It's a machine that makes, you put...
That's a robotic machine that can actually make a whole burger and slice tomatoes and onions fresh. Even Five Guys with their premium prices don't do that.
How much does a robot cost that will do that?
I don't know yet. It's a little early, but we'll probably sell you burgers instead of selling you robots.
If you could bring one of those next year, that would be pretty cool.
But this whole area of machine learning and intelligence of software systems applied to replacing human judgment is really exciting area for me. Sometimes it's called data science, sometimes it's called AI. But there is a negative aspect to it. If you replace farm labor with machines that weed and thin and harvest, if you have machines that make burgers, machines already trade stocks. Google's doing software that replaces taxi drivers with driverless cars. You're starting to see software applied to human judgment equivalents. And I think that will move much faster than most people expect. So it's a really exciting area. By the way, it'll also be applied to cybersecurity, and we can talk about that. The area I'm most excited about there, and I'll keep yapping unless you interrupt me, is this kind of software together with sensors and wearables changing the practice of medicine. I've sort of publicly said a number of healthcare forums in the next 10 years. Think about it. Data science and software will do more for medicine than all the biological sciences combined.
Yeah.
Now, that's a pretty stunning statement, if I'm right. I'm often wrong, so there's hope for doctors. But I've been on the record saying 80% of what doctors do can be done at a fraction of the cost and at substantially better quality than your median doctor. Not your top 5%, 10% Stanford doctor, but your median doctor, your rural doctor, the rural doctor in India. And I'm really excited about that. I'll give you, and this is going to be so cheap and so much database that the world is going to be a different place in healthcare. So let me give you a couple of examples. I think last year, I don't know if I showed this or not, we have a little device that, and an iPhone case.
I'm not sure they're going to see that.
Camera here?
Oh, yeah, okay. No, see, yeah, if you, there's a camera, if you kind of point it at the camera, it might, maybe just a little bit this way, a little bit to the left.
Oh.
Yeah, there.
Okay.
Yeah, actually, you can see there, too, on the screen in front of you.
So this is an EKG machine, and I've sort of been trying to convince the company to give it away because it's so cheap. It's 10, 15 bucks to make. They shouldn't be charging for it. This is an app, if you can see it, that tracks my mental health. I probably need it.
Wait, let me see that for one moment.
So this is our community. Ginger.io is the company. But you know, I don't happen to have a psychiatrist, at least not yet. But if you were a psychiatrist, he'd install it on your machine, on your mobile phone. You'd never even have to start it and collect 1,000, 2,000 data points a day. Every text you did, every email you sent, everybody you called, it would very quickly figure out you always call your mom on Saturday mornings, and if you missed, and you didn't go out with your friends on Friday night, which you normally do, it knows your normal behavior pattern from thousands of data points.
Can I jump in?
I think this thing has, for these 13 people in this community, 42,000 data points last week.
And that's called?
Ginger.io.
Okay.
So suddenly, you know more about your mental health than a psychiatrist could ever know. And today, what this app does is, if a psychiatrist comes in the morning of his 300 patients, he'll say, these 5 are in the red zone, have your nurse call the patient and see how they're doing. Otherwise, a psychiatrist doesn't know what's going on. So that's another example. I talked about cardiology. I talked about psychiatry. Let me talk about my other toy, which I love.
Can we do this in 30 seconds? There's a couple of things I want to, okay.
So this is a little thing. You'll get a demo later, cell scope. You put it in your ear. You get an image. You get comparative images. You could help with the diagnosis. Suddenly, and you'll see a demo later today.
Is it doing it? Do I need to hit a button?
Yeah, you have to be on the camera and take a video of your ear.
Oh, that's disgusting. It takes a picture of inside your ear.
Yeah. And
your ear,
I see lots of wax in your ear. No, but my point
Why
is,
do you want to
whether
take a
it's
picture of your ear?
ENT specialists or cardiologists or mental health or internal medicine, We have a dozen such efforts.
Do you care at all?
These are all $5, $10 to produce devices that should be given away and be services where when your child has an ear infection, you shouldn't need to call your pediatrician who then calls an ENT specialist. You wait a day to get an appointment, leave work, go to school, pick
totally
up
agree.
your kid.
Now, I don't want to talk about that anymore because I want to talk about something else. So I want to talk about the NSA because we only have a few more minutes.
Okay.
And I hope to God that you'll be the first person I've interviewed so far that will actually take a real stand here and say something. Although I have no idea what your opinion is on it. Are you concerned with government snooping?
I am obviously concerned about government snooping, but between having no snooping and having snooping, I would come down in favor of the government's programs with a lot more transparency on what's going on. So I agree with what John Doerr just said recently. I agree. I was looking at what Max Levchin said yesterday. I'm very much in the camp of I'd rather avoid another terrorist attack, but more importantly, the consequences of terrorist attacks. Though, a terrorist attack might kill 5 or 10 people. We kill 5 or 10 people from once a year. We kill 5 or 10 people from misdiagnosis every hour in this country, misdiagnosis in healthcare. But the consequences of, I would bet we are spending hundreds of billions of dollars because of 9/11. Today is 9/11, and I think it was a big lesson for us. Yeah. We need to be secure, and that means giving up some privacy.
And even if some NSA analyst is just for fun rifling through everything that you've done online?
Look, the reality is that's not a good thing, and transparency is important. I wish they'd announced what they were doing a long time ago when they started doing it, and that they take a proactive approach and say, we will announce everything we're doing, other than things that for security reasons. The fact is, we know about the NSA. We do not know publicly what other governments are doing. But that doesn't mean they're not doing it. Yeah. Almost certainly, every government is doing this. Yeah. Every major government is doing this. And we know we spy on the Israelis, and Israel spies on us. We spy on the Chinese, they spy on us. It's a reality we have to face and say, where does societal benefit get maximized?
Okay. That's it, then. That's the same answer. It's a trade-off.
It's a trade-off.
I think it's a false trade-off. But
and we have to be pragmatic about it.
Why? Why do we have to be pragmatic about freedom?
I don't think it's about, in fact, it's the opposite. Without it, we may not have the freedom. So imagine we had 3 terrorist attacks last year. Yeah. Because there was no NSA snooping, it's pretty clear they detected a few terrorist attacks. Yeah. You couldn't walk in here without a security check. Is that more freedom? You couldn't walk into a restaurant without security checks. I've been in place, you can't walk into a hotel in India without a security check. Yeah. Right? And there's lots of schools you have to walk in with a security check. So these are the trade-offs. Life gets a lot more cumbersome if you don't have a level of protection. Yeah. And so I'd rather not have that overhead, the hundreds of billions of costs of that, and the hassle.
Okay.
So, thank you all. Thanks very much.
Thanks, Vinod.
Hopefully you'll give us more time next time.
Thank you.